And David, I need you to open the screen sharing. Yeah. There you go. Okay, let me see that. Okay, awesome. Share. All right. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's not that I have Morgan Freeman voice anyway, but today it's like extra horrible. So, well, and today of all the day, David is recording the meeting. Okay, awesome. So, I'm just going to go through it because, we all have the basic background in terms of, assessments and how to do camps. So not really go, into the depths, like, go through every elementary steps of common assessment, because certain things I'll be running by quickly because, I'm assuming that that those areas don't require a lot of explanation. But please, it's our team, so you can just stop me anytime, and then let's clarify and move to the next stage. Frankly, I've done only a couple of assessments. I'm not an expert in it as well, but we'll share whatever we have. So instead of going through a dry run of going through the documentation, I thought we'd do one of those live sessions. Mm-hmm. I guess most of you have seen one of those sessions when WCG hosted it a few months ago, right? Remember? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We're all being there. So
no, we haven't.
Oh, you haven't? Is it the first time for you, Slava, going through the common assessment?
Yes.
Okay, for all of you, Marcella?
Yes.
Yes, first time.
Oh, okay, all right. So you just sign in. I don't think many of you have this common assessment link. You do?
I don't. I don't.
Exactly, because I checked with Victor, he said he doesn't have one. So David, that's the first thing. They do not have the access to common assessment. I think
set that up. That's no
problem. I remember Kelsey said, like, all the people that needs easy privileges, we need to get them on board. So what happens is that you click on common assessment, and then you input your one key number, and then it takes you to the common assessment page. Okay, it was fine. It was fine a moment ago.
Okay. Yeah, now, yeah. Okay, good.
Okay, stop, Renata, okay? I checked this link, it's just going round and round. The refer client link is not working for now because this will be functional starting January. Based on the training that we had this morning. So this is going to go live in January. For now, we can create assessments. Just like, you go search for a case, you can search for a client, like first name, last name, CAMS. SAMS is the new terminology. What it means is that Social Assistant Case Management System. So clients can either have a CAMS number or a SAMS number. You can use any one of those criteria to search for a client, a phone number, blah, 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 whatever. So let's assume the client's not there, so we create an assessment. So when you go to create an assessment, the first step is you need to get the consent of the client. You got to you don't have to read through the whole thing, but then give the gist of it, like whatever information they're sharing, that there is consent for. They give us consent to share it with the government and the agencies that we are partnering with, and so on, the standard consent document. So you need to check this on behalf of the client, and then you proceed to the next step.
Can I stop you at this moment? Mm-hmm. So you're saying employment consultants are filling this out?
Okay, Slava, let me tell you, because there's a lot of confusion about employment consultants. The WCG's way of describing employment consultant is like virtually everybody who works with the client is an employment consultant. It's a very broad term. Even their own, agency positions, virtually all the positions are employment consultant. They say employment consultant / facilitator, resource facilitator, employment consultant / employment specialist / retention specialist or support specialist. So it's always employment consultant, and on top of it, so there is a specialization, like, certain people do certain things, certain type of job more than the other. So as far as Costi goes, we will, remember the other day when Julie came in and she was talking about the roles and responsibilities and positions and the jobs that each position will be doing will be clearly laid out, in the next session in January. So until now, please do not worry about that. It's not about EC as the way we have ECs. So those definitions are not done yet. And same goes with all the jobs we're talking about. We're just familiarizing with the task, but essentially everybody will have to know everything. And we all fill in for, in case the specialist is not available, which we already know. So that's the reason we're having it for all the staff is because everybody needs to be acquainted and we need to be fairly conversant in all of this. Not necessarily we'll be doing all the tasks on a day-to-day basis. It will not be your primary task, or it may be. So right now we do not have that answer. So this is basically an orientation. Okay.
Because it seems that it's just collecting, some information and data entry.
Well, like I said, you can interpret it any way you want, but then this step is essential in terms of segregating the client into stream A, B, and C. So we'll go through it and you'll see some of it needs really, it's not just basic data entry, it's like probing, making an assessment, not necessarily counseling, but then it's a very comprehensive intake process. So whenever a client comes in, the first essential step after the consent, can I move forward now?
Well, the last question will be, are we doing that on the computer with the client, or the client comes to the center, fills out the form, and somebody is doing data entry based on the form?
Okay, there is no form. Like I said, you have to forget the old process. Okay, there is no form. Even now, virtually, you might even share the screen with the client, but if you're really, conversant, very efficient, and you can communicate well with the client on the phone and fill the form on the phone, it's fine. You can use the discretion. Or you can just bring the client for a quick 10 minutes, not 10 minutes, take at least 20, 25 minutes, a Zoom session, and then share the screen with the client, participatively fill the form, but you will be filling the form, talking to the client. But in the office, it'll be different. We have resource computers, like right now we have to assign three computers. The clients log in. So it's up to the efficiency and the discretion of the facilitator, the employment consultant / facilitator, like, in WCG's parlance. So they can simultaneously keep, the 3 different clients, you open the three screens, ask the client to go through it, and then you can just kind of, supervise and make sure that all the clients are doing, just like the CIS form, 4 people filling the CIS at the same time, and the facilitator just goes around and makes sure that they're filling the right forms in the right fields. So right now, because we have to break down all the tasks into, for the virtual world, and then later on when you go back to the office, well, we'll have to do things differently. For now, to answer your question, 1 client at a time, yes, you could either do it on the phone, or the best way to do it, so far as I can see, is because you will find it shortly, like, when I go through the questions and the steps involved, it makes much more sense if you have the client there and the client can actually have a visual sense of what's going through. So first of all, it kind of makes the process very easy as opposed to if you're doing it over the phone, okay? Yeah.
The last thing, because I'm very practical, sorry to bother you, I don't have a Zoom account. I don't have it. Does Costi will take care of it, or will Costi take care of it, that we will have the Zoom account, all of us?
Okay, like I said, I don't have the answer to
that. I can answer that for you if you want, Raj.
Yes.
First off, Zoom costs nothing for you. If the assessment's only going to take about 45 minutes, you can have your own private account for no cost whatsoever, or we can use the account that we have. So yes, that can be taken care of. The best way, Slava, and all of us to really administer this, in my mind, is to actually, when you're dealing with somebody remote is to bring up the Zoom screen, just like Raj is doing now. The demo is the same thing that we would be doing as if you were the client sitting at your end, and he's gonna walk you through the questions. So that's the best way to do it. But to
The
answer your
only
question,
problem is, yeah, that I'm using my private laptop, which is, not reliable all the time. And then I don't have the camera and I don't have the, microphone or whatever on my work computer, just to let you know that I don't have the tools.
I understand what you're saying. We'll have to get you fixed up for that, though. But don't
Okay.
worry about that right now, because this won't happen until sometime in January, and probably not right away in January.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So like I said, the primary information you need is the consent. And the next thing is the social insurance number for the client. So you need to have a right SIM. So if you put any SIM, it will not work. You see automatically right away says it's not a valid social insurance number. You need a valid social insurance number to go through it.
Okay, don't bother. Okay, without that, you cannot go on?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I need to put in SIM. So now this is pretty easy, like first name, last name, date of birth, mailing address. And then starts with the demographic, whether you're a Canadian citizen. They have 5 different options. If you click other, I think it'll ask you to say what you are, where were you born, okay? Well, there's an option you don't have to answer there. Your marital status, again, single, married, common law, separate, divorce, widow. Can you have a prefer not to answer there? Okay, I'm just going through it, and then we'll go back to each question. Okay, just to give you an overview first of this part. So, and then there's a question on dependence, and then your gender. There's a whole lot of options there. And then, do you identify as LGBTQ? Well, there was a question in the primary session, like, if you're already identifying as gender non-binary or transgender, why this question? But they said, well, you still have to ask this question, and people can have a right not to answer. Because this is the mandatory requirement, Francophone or not, you need to know, because services will vary if the person is Francophone. An Indigenous person, and now we're talking about other subsects under race. And then we move on to education, basic education, like, what's your level of schooling, and then what year did you stop education? Where did the schooling come from in and out of Canada? So at the end of the basic education, then it goes to the basic skills. So now you see it's kind of getting more interesting now. Do you need help to improve your language skills to help you get or keep a job? So it's more, this question is more towards your language skill as it applies to finding work or to hold on to the work that you eventually get in, right? So again, it'll vary from person to person. So for example, if you're an IT person, like a developer, and your English skills are not very high, like, not like a level of 7 or 8 on the CLB scale, but still it's good enough to help that person find or keep their job. You get my point? So it varies from person to person. Just give you an example how it varies, language skill. And again, this is where, like, as an assessor, like, you will be helping clients in terms of filling out a question. Okay. And then they're asking about questions like, and here are these questions, you have to indicate the extent to which you agree or disagree. So I'm comfortable reading and understanding written information. So it's entirely up to the client to say, well, I'm okay, I'm not okay. And again, you see, if I'm comfortable communicating information in writing. So the one is talking about reading and comprehending written information. The other one's talking about actually writing, right? Your own writing skills. And then I'm comfortable exchanging information verbally. Now this is about speaking skills. And again, and the other one is I'm comfortable understanding and using numbers and simple math. And the last question here in this category is I'm comfortable using computers and other digital technologies. So they're asking these 5 questions. We still do not know how these questions or the responses will impact whether a client going into stream A or B or C. But then this information is processed along with the other information that we're going to go through. And finally, it's going to help place the client either in stream A, B, or C.
Okay. Can I just interject something here for a second, Ron? Just the most important thing, of course, with the client is to position this so that they understand that if they want to become an assistant client, we're required to have them complete this information. And the best way, I think, just as Roger's doing, is to show them on the screen so they can answer the questions. They can see us click the correct response for them and go through them. And it can re-emphasize for them, because when they hear it, they may not understand the question, but when they read it and hear it, it's much easier to understand.
Yeah.
The most important thing to position this is to position this as a discussion or a conversation. It's not an interrogation. But it's really important that the people answer as truthfully as they can. And of course, that depends on how comfortable they are talking to you. Some people may not want to be forthcoming with information, but it's really important that we know and understand if they've got a barrier, we need to identify what it is as much as they're prepared to tell us, so that we in fact can actually get them support to do what we need to do to help them with job. So having said that, it's really, really important to be able to get their confidence that what we're telling them to do or what we're asking them to do is to be as truthful as they possibly can. Most important thing to remember is once they're locked in to an A, they're an A. If we find out 3 or 4 weeks later that they're actually a C and there were things they didn't disclose, they're an A. They're not a C. So that impacts us in terms of placing them. So it's really important to know that. The only time you can actually requalify them as an A or B or a C is when you close them fully and reopen them as a brand new entry. So once they're an A, you're an A. Once you're a B, well, you're a B. Once you're a C, you are a C. So that's really, really important.
And this Zoom kind of thing that we will be using is only available to people who have a computer at home and
Well,
who
again,
are
this is only
enough computer savvy.
Slava, this is only a tool from the standpoint that if you've got Zoom, it's great. If you don't, you do it by audio, you do it by phone.
Yeah, it's not mandatory that you have to share the screen. All I was saying is, like, it's much easier. Like, you can see this basic information, like, are you French speaking, or, are you First Nation? You don't need Zoom, or you don't need to share a screen to ask these questions, because it's pretty straightforward. It's black and white. Whereas when you go to this section, it helps when a person looks at it and say, okay, am I really okay? Am I not okay? And then if you went and we go further down, you will find how the visual appeal is much more, faster and produces much better results as opposed to having a phone thing. Having said that, you could actually do it on the phone, okay? Even WCG says, like, do it on the phone. It's fine. They never, ever recommended that you have to do it, visually. It's just that, like, since I've done one on the phone and one, using Zoom, I found using Zoom, which was way more faster, and it made the experience much, how could I say, it's much easier for the client. The client was not, very anxious or anything, but the other way around, I had to repeat a lot of times for the client to understand before we proceed, to the next section. So,
okay, I have a technical question.
Mm-hmm.
We have clients in the camps right now, right? And they never have done that assessment.
Yeah.
If they do that assessment, can we pull them to the new one?
No, we cannot. Once you close a service plan and reopen a service plan after January 1st, that's when a client will go into those streams.
Okay, but not when...
Not active clients.
Not now, okay.
Yeah, not active clients. When the clients come back to us that we have already closed,
Okay.
yes, we can.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I didn't have credits, at least, Raj, David, can we get some credit at least for clients who are in our current caseload, who are OW, ODSP, First Nation, or whatever, they want, the people who are needy.
No credits.
Can we get credit for
No.
switch them to the new system?
No.
No, there is nothing. Any clients
Well,
comes
that's
into the system
fair.
in January, only then they go into the streams. They go to the common assessment and go to the streams. Okay,
That's
so
very unfair because we have this population and there are needy people, and then what do we do with them if there are dead bodies in our caseload?
okay.
Well, can I just answer that, Raj, just to help?
Mhm.
We're going to be running, there's two parallel systems that are going to run. Between now and March 31st, the current the current EO system will run, but only for those up to December 31st. Come January 1, it goes in the WCG model. So anyone that's new, as a new client, that you register as a new client as of January 1, becomes under the new system. Anybody that's registered before December 31st is on the old system. So you cannot count anyone who's registered before December 31st as a new WCG business model client, just to let you know. They'll still get served, but they just don't count towards our numbers for WCG starting January 1. But that's totally transparent to the client. The client it'll mean nothing to them. It means something to us, but nothing to them.
Well,
I'm
that's
just filling in on the
system. It's a two-tier.
Sorry, you're breaking up, Slava. Hello? Another thing I'll just mention about this system too, say for instance, as you're going through it, and sorry, Raj, I'm jumping.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm just filling up,
Your
populating.
voice sounds raspy. Are you, do you have a cold?
I don't know. Just started this morning.
Okay.
David, if you think this is bad, just listen to his answering
It's a
machine.
two-tier system, I guess.
The answering machine, it's really crappy. Right? You need to change that.
So going back to what, yeah, I see your audio comes and goes, Slava, so that's frustrating for you. But is it a two-tier system? It's not a two-tier, it's a two separate system. It's not tiered at all. There's an overlap.
Mm.
But I want to just make a point with regard to this system or this questionnaire as you're going through it. Say, for instance, if the client goes halfway through it and says, you know what, I'm really not comfortable answering any more questions right now, and I'd like to take a break. You can save this on the system and you can go back. See what Raj is circling? Save and resume later. Or let's say somebody has to take a nature break and say, you know what, I can't go on because it'll time out after 15 minutes. So you can save it and say, you know what, take a break. Let's go back to this tomorrow. And you know, if you need to think about or gather your thoughts, then you can certainly do that. It doesn't all have to be done at one sitting, which could take anywhere between say 25 to possibly 40 minutes, depending on their command of English and how difficult they think the questions may or may not be. They're not really difficult.
After answering all those questions, we will get some kind of report or not?
Okay, so that's the whole idea. Okay,
Yeah.
you won't get a report. You will get the information whether the client is screen A, B, or C. You don't get
So
the
that's
profile.
the only thing which
That's
comes.
the only thing you will get. Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, and that's the only thing we need at this moment. Okay, through this particular tool. All right. So I mean, when we were talking, I just went up and filled in all the necessary fields, because even if you leave one field, it's not going to let us go to the next step. Okay, so we saw these 5 questions, and then we're talking about an additional 5 questions. Now these are these questions are about your language skills, all right, and these ones are about your your skills to find work by yourself. So I can find paid work if I want to. And you see all those little categories, like starting from so strongly disagree to, strongly agree, okay, and then it goes on and on. So you can say whatever you want. So it's strongly disagree, somewhat disagree, neutral, somewhat agree, and strongly agree. You will find all of these questions are on a 7-point scale. So the first question is, I can find paid work if I want to. And when I make plans for my career, I'm confident I can make them work. All right. You see how crafty these questions are. And I can perform effectively on many different tasks. I can find and access the services I need. It talks about resourcefulness. It talks about decision-making skills like this one, like, I'm very confident about making career plans and sticking to it. And finally, it talks about, I'm connected to multiple people who provide advice, help, and emotional support. This talks about their networks, existing network, and the ability to network with people. And moving on to supports and service needs. So you'll find the questions here are talking about, do you have reliable transportation for daily activities? Let's see, let's keep filling it. Do you have any caregiving responsibilities that may limit your ability to work, participate in training, or search for work? Which of the following best categories, let me put no there, which of the following best describe your household situation? Now they're talking about, are you renting, subsidized renting, just lodging somewhere, you're a homeowner, living with family or friends, living in an institution, temporary secondary residence, band own home. I don't even know what that is.
Oh, that's indigenous.
Oh, is it? Okay. So, and then, well, this is explanatory, homeless or transient, and then an emergency hostels. So you
What
have,
do you mean by temporary second residence?
see, for example, you're renovating your house. You just moved temporarily for a month or so.
Oh, okay, got it, got it.
Okay. So let's go. How many times have you moved in the past 6 months? So you got to say something. Like you never. It's not saying. It's not allowing me to spell never.
Maybe 0
So
or 1.
So you have to say only numeric values. See there? So let's go to 0. So no, I'm just demonstrating this. How worried are you that you might have to move within the next 12 months? You know, somewhat worried, do whatever you want. I mean, depending on the actual situation. Would you like help finding stable housing? You can say already received help or receiving help, because if you're already working with a settlement worker looking for housing. The last 12 months, I worried whether our food would run out before we get money to buy more. Okay, so, well, it's a very interesting question. We were talking about that. So it's not talking about it's not a straightforward question whether you have money. It's asking whether you're anxious or you're worried about food running out before you get more money to buy your food. So it's a very direct, real life question. And then you see the next one. In the last 12 months, the food that we bought just did not last, and we did not have money to get more. So it talks about like real poverty there. Again, clients will be very reluctant to open up to these questions unless they feel like they can trust you with this information. So it's a nice thing to have a couple of minutes chit chat with the client before beginning the questionnaire, and also it's not knowing that such questions come up, you can always alert the client, kind of warm them up by saying things like, there's going to be some very personal questions, and in order to help you and give you the best possible help and support, the ministry requires us to ask certain questions that are very personal. I hope you don't mind, and we will not be this information stays with the ministry. That's that assurance they gave. They're not going to share this common assessment information with anyone else. So
and also, it's important to note too, Raj, that they don't have to sign anything.
Oh yes,
there's nothing to sign.
They're not signing, and most importantly, this information is not shared with anyone.
Correct.
Okay, the assessment information itself. The consent is not to share this information, so you can make that distinction there. Okay.
Actually, can I just cite a question to Slava, because she's having difficulty with audio, but she asked a good question. She says, can we go back any time to this information in the system so we can have it handy?
No.
Correct.
Once it's gone, it's gone. This information we're collecting it's
really this is so silly. For what we
You're breaking up, Slava.
have that information if we cannot, do we get a printout of it so we handle the client properly?
Well, that's the next question you ask. Is it possible to get a printout of the common assessment and keep it on file?
I mean, you can make screenshots and keep it. I don't think there is a provision. I didn't
Listen,
say
Raj,
yeah,
this
you can
doesn't
make a
make
printout.
any sense. This doesn't make any sense, okay? If that information.
Well, hang on. There may be a print function at the very bottom, at the very end. So why don't we just wait?
Okay.
I think there is. Yeah. Hang in there.
Okay. So in the last 12 months, we're talking about the food situation. Say somewhat true.
Is gone, so we cannot understand.
Well, let's find that out.
That's fine.
It's a great question. Let's get the answer to that.
Do you need immediate financial assistance to pay for food or shelter? Now, let's say already receiving. Do you feel that you would benefit from receiving mental health support? Now, finance to mental health. So we're talking about, let's say, yes. Do you feel that you would benefit from receiving support for managing substance use? You see how personal things go.
Mhm.
Let's say go. Okay. Now, at this point, you can save and resume later, or any point you can save and resume later, or you can proceed to the next step. Okay. So what we've seen so far, in a nutshell, you can see this comprises of what part of what you call this module 1. So we started. Can you see this little?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we started with the personal information, address and contact, demographic information, residency status. More under demographics, I'm sorry, residency status, demographic, and education. And the next set is supports and service needs. We talked about finances, housing, caregiving, mental health and addiction, and transportation. Then we're going to go into skills. And finally, module 2, we'll go into module 2, which talks about income and employment information. So under income, we have income and assistance, disability information, and then coming under employment, we talk about employment status, goals, work attitudes, and ability. So we have, it's primarily 2 models. Just want to let you guys know, when we get clients from like OW or ODSP, this part, the module 1 part, will be already completed by that referring agencies. Okay, so Costi will be doing the module 2, not module 1. Okay, let's go to the next step. Okay, so it's asking for a birth date. So I'll give some birth date. We'll put 2029, 1949, whatever.
Well, if we don't have access to that information, if it's not stored somewhere, it's useless to us to please manage the client.
No,
Raj, your client is in his 70s. Are you sure you want to do that?
Okay, let's see, what is this asking? Okay, street name.
Yeah, keep it in the province.
Let's go to Texas.
Yeah, I think he might drop out at that point. Unless he's a snowbird going down to Florida or Texas.
Oh, no.
Okay, you see, that it won't let us go
Yeah.
next step without everything. Okay, what's there? I'm comfortable reading. Okay, I'm good at this. I hope I've pulled out. So, okay, it's letting us go to the next stage. All right, now we're talking about income and employment. This is module 2. So module 1 was, I wouldn't say it was pretty straightforward. You see those last section when we're talking about finance, housing, caregiving, mental health, and transportation. We had all those little trick questions. Now we're moving to some more serious information here. So main source of income. So we have all of these: no source, EI, WSIB, OW, ODSP. Dependent on someone who's receiving OW or ODSP, Crown Ward, employed, self-employed, and others. Okay, so we have whatever, let's say, no source of income. Now, have you received any of the following assistance in the past year? Again, it's asking whatever, right? EI, WSIB. So these are very common that you know. We're moving into disability information now. Now it's asking about, do you have any difficulty seeing or hearing? Okay. Now you can choose any of these options: no, sometimes, often, always, prefer not to answer. So if you say no or prefer not to answer, it'll take you to the next question. Okay. So let's say, for example, often, all right, or sometimes, or always. It's going to expand into 2 additional questions. Now we're talking about seeing or hearing. So it's asking basically, what is it? What kind of impairment you have? Is it a visual impairment or is it a hearing impairment? So it's asking, let's say, for example, let's say I say yes for visual impairment, then it's throwing up more questions here. Now, with your glasses or contact lenses, which are the best following best describe your ability to see? No difficulty, some difficulty, a lot of difficulty. Say, for example, when you say no difficulty, it's fine. It doesn't expand or anything. Say, let's say, for example, it says a lot of difficulty. It'll open for more questions here. So how often does this limit your daily activity? You see, one question leading to more question. And same way, we're talking about, let's say, for example, just to shut this up. So we say prefer not to answer. Now we go to hearing aid. Now let me say I both visually and have auditory impairment as well. Now we're talking here, I'm using some hearing aid. Now I'm talking about, yes, I'm having a lot of difficulty with even with the hearing aid. Now it throws up additional questions. So it's not how often, and I say often, all right? Now it's storing that information there that I have hearing impairment, and it is hampering my day-to-day activities quite often. Now we go to the other one. Now, do you have difficulty walking, using stairs, using your hands or fingers, or doing other physical activities? What we're talking about here, this may include difficulties with mobility, flexibility, dexterity, or any physical pain. Now again, we're talking, let's say, always, okay? I'm really a sick person here. Now the next questions are about your ability to move around at your regular walking pace, even when using an aid such as a cane. Now, how much difficulty do you have walking on a flat surface for 15 minutes without resting? Okay.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Yeah, as I said, frankly, there are 5 basic disability questions, but then they have 31 extra questions if you expand them all. Like a person is visually impaired, has got hearing impairment, has got walking, back pain, substance abuse. You got everything, a full package, or you got to, there's a lot of questions, right? How much difficulty you have walking up or down a flight of stairs? About 12 steps, okay, without resting. Now you gotta let clients to think, okay, because it's so hard to visualize. All of a sudden somebody throws a question like that. I don't know, what do you mean 12 pace? Okay, just like, going to the second floor, coming back, or just going to the second floor. Yeah, I know it's not so easy for me, whatever, they're gonna go. So these questions, you got to, this is what, I got 2 clients, none of them had these issues, except one was talking about mental stress and issues. But when it comes to these ones, frankly speaking, we're not going to get a lot of clients according to our past statistics, right? We don't get a lot of clients on disability. So,
Ron,
I'm just saying.
Sorry, can I just interrupt? Rosalba's got a good question. She asks, and I'm doing this because I know she can't interject because her sound is not working properly. She says, did you say, is there a time limit for the assessment? If yes, what is the time limit?
Oh, it's nothing. For now, it's just like the CAMS. You leave it open for 10 minutes, it'll sign off. But if you're moving if you're working on it, it doesn't shut you off.
Exactly. Yeah.
You can even, do it for like 45 minutes or for an hour, but so long as you are working on that page and not leaving the page, just like CAMS. So long as we are on CAMS, it won't shut us off. So I hope I answered the question there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right. So next question, how often do these difficulties limit your daily activity? Let's say sometimes. I'm not using any logical reasoning here. I'm just filling in these questions. The next question deals with flexibility and dexterity. So how much difficulty do you have bending and picking an object from the floor? Some difficulty. How much difficulty do you have reaching any direction, for example, above your head? A lot of difficulty. How often do these difficulties limit your daily activities? Let's say sometimes. How much difficulty do you have using your fingers to grasp small objects like a pencil or scissors? No, can't do it at all. Okay. And you see, it keeps on expanding. How often does this difficulty limit your daily activities? Sometimes. Now, do you have any, now that we're talking about, mental disabilities, learning, remembering, cognitive, right? Concentrating. This may include learning, developmental or intellectual, and memory difficulties. Let's say often. You see, it's throwing up. I'm telling you, there are 31 questions. When a person say no for 5 questions, we don't have to do all these 31. But whenever a client comes and says yes and discloses certain difficulties or illnesses, well, then we'll have to go and probe further. like in this case, do you think you have a condition that makes it difficult in general for you to learn? So it could include disabilities such as dyslexia, hyperactivity, like ADHD, like attention issues, as well as other conditions. Again, you know, the client may have an issue. They may be, probably they have issues that they do not know the exact nature of the disability they have. Probably they have, you know, have a caretaker in the family that deals with such, you know, issues, talking to the medical, you know, the physician, so on. So they may wonder, I don't know, probably there's something here. And, you know, just these things are common. So you got to be very sensitive when we're talking about such areas, because the idea is to kind of elicit that information from the client, like gently, without putting them in extra distress, right? So let's say, yes, here. Now, has a teacher, doctor, or other healthcare professional ever said that you had a learning disability? See, if a person, like, you can go back and forth, they say, I'm not sure. And then you ask them, okay, well, did anybody say that you have like a professional? And they say, yeah. Okay, then obviously there is a yes there, but they do not know what it is. So you see, it's a little bit of, that's when, you know, sometimes people say this exercise takes sometimes about an hour. But honestly, in most cases, it doesn't. The first one I did, it took about 20 minutes, less than 25 minutes, 22, 23 minutes. And the second one on the phone, surprisingly, it took almost the same time, probably less than half an hour. Mm-hmm. So, you know, but of course, in one case, as I said, they had some kind of mental stress they talked about, but other than that, there was not much, you know, this kind of unfolding questions, right? Now, in this case, let's say a yes. How often are your daily activities limited by these conditions? You can say sometimes, rarely. See all these questions, you know, the options there. Now, how much difficulty do you have? Mm-hmm.
I know you did not create that questionnaire or anything like that, but my comment on it is, if somebody asked me if my teacher, doctor, or whoever is commented on my ability or disability, I would be very offended and tell them to go to hell. I would not answer that question. That's what I'm going to say. I know it's not your fault. It's there, but you know, some of these questions, they're very intrusive, and people are not ready to talk.
There is, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I don't have any comments on that. Like, but all I can say is this: that is what WCG told us, because you know they took so much care in terms of preparing it, and there is a reason behind each question. And even during the first run, all of us, like, you know, from all across the board, we all had a lot of objections to many of these questions. And frankly, many of these questions were all over the place. Like, you know, there was a finance question followed by a transport and then by a mental health issue question. So it was like all over the place. But then first of all, we said we don't need so many questions. And second of all, they were like all like in a very confusing pattern. I can see that they removed the, you know, the confusion. It's flowing in one direction, but honestly, I don't have an answer to your question. Like, you know, why such?
No, I understand that. This is just my comment, you know, because it's very like this is too intrusive. I came to you for work, not for my medical assessment. That's how I feel right now. That you know, like it's probing too much in some cases. In some cases. But this one, I honestly, if the teacher was commenting on it or daycare, what are you going to ask my mom as well? If in the WOMP I was making trouble for her too? That's a very stupid question.
No, it's a very.
Okay, David, go ahead.
It is an intrusive question. Also, too, my concern is this, and I'm looking at it from a client standpoint. They can opt out in every case they prefer not to answer. But to my mind, if you were taking these questions from the client, that would set up a flag in my mind, like, why are you preferring not to answer? Maybe because you think the same as Renata and I do, that it's very intrusive, and that's totally their right. And that doesn't factor into the scale as to whether or not they're an A, B, or C. I checked that directly with WCG.
And you know what it is, David? In that case, I think we as a messengers, we are going to be shot because that's a negative feeling that people are having towards you. you're asking the questions. You're not created that question, but you're asking it, right?
But you know what? And that's why the front end is so important to prepare them and sort of condition them to realize these are not our questions. These are the ministry questions. We require people to answer them as truthfully as they can, as honestly as they can. And if we get those answers, then we can put you through as an assisted client. But here's another concern I've got. For instance, if I've got somebody from another country whose English is not as good as ours, and we say, well, this may include Down syndrome, autism, Asperger's syndrome. They're going to ask us, what is Down syndrome?
What?
Yeah.
That's true.
Asperger, I cooked that the last night. It was really tasty, but what's Asperger's syndrome? You know,
Yeah.
I don't know.
First of all, we need to learn in detail what these things are ourselves. Okay, we have a general picture of these things, but we need to probably learn more. But another thing, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
So if we're just collecting that information to distinguish if this is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, or whatever, okay, and we don't have access to that information, so I'm hoping that after answering all these questions, the system will present a summary of what the client situation is, and then let us know about the appropriate interventions for the client. Because if that information goes into the system and is gone, so it's totally useless for us. So where do we get and where do we put the information that we need to have in order to make referrals, to work with the client properly? Where are we storing that information, and that information is accessible to us? Please answer my question.
You asked that question. That relates back to your point about how do we store this information? How can you print it? And I believe there's a print function at the end. I don't believe you're required to have a copy, but I don't know. I don't know until we get to the very end of this function. But going back to your question, they won't recommend any interventions. They'll give you a score, your A, your B, or C. It won't tell you if you're a high C or a low C. It won't tell you that. It'll just tell you your A, your B, or C. And then you'll have to go back on your discussion with them to find out whether or not they do in fact need some intervention with medical attention for anxiety or whatever the case, even though we're not psychologists.
Oh, okay. David, so we're doing double work because we're answering the questions and we're making our own notes, on a sheet of paper. Okay, ODSP client, OW, disability, I don't know, deaf, or
Let's not get
whatever.
ahead of ourselves.
Slava, can I stop you for a second? I'm just going through the ministry sites, and I'm just accessing the Q&A, and okay, the card summary can be printed. Okay.
Can be?
It says it can be printed. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. The ministry does not require either the caseworker or client signature for the CAT. However, the CAT summary can be printed.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank
Yeah.
God.
And in a hard copy, you want a hard copy, you can save it, or you can save it as a soft copy, as a PDF. Yes.
There you go.
Okay. I was just going through the Q&A when you guys were talking.
Okay. Good.
No, thanks, Raj. Thank you.
All right. So now, proceeding further, we're talking about, okay, we'll check this. Okay. Down syndrome, autism, Asperger's, and look at that, mental impairment due to lack of oxygen at birth. Yeah, it's real, but it's really, yeah, happens, right? So,
What
like
about
David,
lack of oxygen at death?
Lack of
That can't do it?
oxygen.
Okay.
Oh my God.
but like David said, you have to let the client know that it's absolutely their right if they, to answer these questions or prefer not to answer.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have to let them know at the outset that they're not obligated to come out with a yes or no. Okay, so and also you should understand, knowing all of this this profile of a client does not necessarily mean we are going to give them a whole package of solutions. We're not equipped, we're not professionals in those areas. What WCG was telling repeatedly is this will get them to place the client in the, very accurately into one of the three streams so that the client will not miss out on the support that is provided for each categories.
Correct.
Let's say if a client prefers not to answer for many of the questions, and that pushes the client from stream C to stream B, the client loses. Okay, so that's what it is. So you see, I mean, as a salesman, they always say, I have to believe in what I'm selling. Otherwise, I'll never do a good sale. So as counselors, you have to convince yourself that you are doing it for a good reason. Like Renata said, we did not create this questionnaire. And so but then we have to administer it. So you have to look at the positives of this questionnaire. Unless you are positive, you're not going to transfer that positivity to the client. Especially if you are skeptical about the questionnaire, no matter you might be saying the right words, but you will not be convincing enough to the client. I've seen often enough assessments fail because we as assessors do not believe in the assessment itself. So you got to be mindful of that. So please try to see the positive, because always think this questionnaire, however bad or however ill constructed, is going to help the client get the best possible help. So you have to repeatedly reinforce that information in your mind. Otherwise, none of us will be doing a good job. And also you should understand, just to make it easy, it's not Costi alone. A client walking into Costi Employment Services, Mississauga, is subjected to this treatment. Okay, this brutal interrogation. No. Any client walking to any Employment Ontario Service Center in the Peel region is going to be subjected to the same common assessment. So it's not that a client is going to say, let's not go to Costi, let's go to Access or CET. No.
Very good point.
Wherever they go, they're going to be subjected to this. Okay, so I'm not saying it's a great feeling. All I'm saying is don't go with that feeling of that defeated feeling. God, this is not going to work. If you think it's not going to work, honestly, it'll not work. So no matter how, like I said, ill-constructed it is, we have to work with it for now. Okay, and we can always
listen. Let's change our signage to medical center instead of employment services. Medical center.
Okay, see, this is exactly what I was trying to say. You got to get over the skepticism. You got to believe it's a good tool.
But one thing I've got to interject too, you've got to remember too, number one, we are not qualified nor paid to be a physician. But in the question, do you have any ongoing memory problems or periods of confusion? If you have to repeat that question more than 20 times, you can safely check off the box yes, okay? The box yes.
That box is right now to me yes, David. I have a problem to remember what was a minute ago.
You may be qualified for our services, Renata.
I will sign up soon, I guess. Yeah.
I'll do a third common assessment, Renata.
Raj, I don't want you to administer. You're brutal. I don't want you. You're not sensitive enough for me. Sorry. With you, it's always, what do you mean? You just do it. What? This is not easy. This is easy. Yeah. No.
Go to psychological.
Yeah.
Yeah, but going back to Raj's point too, I mean, we're not selling this. If they say if they want to balk and don't answer, that's totally fine. That's no problem. Don't push. Just let it go. Let it go.
Okay. So the final section here is emotional, psychological.
Sorry, Raj. But David, if we let it go, that person will be wrongly categorized.
That is
they
correct.
Go to A and there is C.
Mm-hmm. That can happen.
So these are the problems we are facing.
Well, they can.
The assessment.
But not only can they not refuse, they can actually give you the wrong answer. If I feel that, oh my gosh, if I admit that I've got emotional, psychological, or mental health conditions, you're not going to help me find a job. So no, I know I don't have any problems. It works in reverse too. I can either refuse to answer it and to give you the wrong answer, or tell you a lie. So yes. It's difficult. It's difficult. It's all in how comfortable they are and what your intent is to use the information. But that's why we'll come up with a little 3 or 4 liner at the very beginning to say, hey, just so that you're comfortable with these questions, I'm going to be asking you this, this, and this. This is why we're going to do it. This is where the information goes. And this is according to FIPPA. So it's going to be under the Freedom of Information, which is to say it's not being divulged.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Let's move to the next question. See, this is where one of my experience with the client, he was dilly-dallying on this particular question, and then I was asking, yes, you can be okay, just open up, whatever it is, it's fine. It's going to stay with us. Then he said he smokes weed sometimes. See, oftentimes people, I don't know, there is a big difference between substance use and substance abuse. So we'll have to let them know that it's okay if you smoke occasionally, and that is just using. That's not abusing. So abusing is like, you grow dependent on it. You get the addiction and so on. Then you get sick out of it. No, then it becomes an abuse. So there's a big line between those two. So sometimes people not sure. Oh my God, occasionally I kind of smoke weed, so is that a big deal? So people sometimes feel that. And one of the big thing is anxiety. So nobody can say that they never felt anxiety in their life. So just because you feel anxious rarely, on rare occasions, doesn't mean that you're a person with an anxiety label. So we should make it very clear in terms of what it is, and especially when people have that kind of confusion. Okay. So
on that note, I'm sorry to interject. On that note, are we going to have separate training on all these medical conditions that you are just mentioning, or we have to learn about these in detail ourselves?
There is nothing, it's all surface level, Slava. You don't have to go into the depths of it.
If somebody will ask me what is whatever, bipolar disorder, I should be able to explain it to the client if he does not or she does not understand the term.
Okay, Slava, like you're right. I'm not denying it. But then when a person has a condition, a specific condition, the person will know that they have a condition. So these questions will not even come out when a person answered, well, they don't have any issues. So when they say they have an issue, the probability of them not knowing a specific issue is very remote. And we don't need to know. The client will disclose if they want to disclose.
Okay, so if they will ask a question, what do you mean by this and that? We are referring them to some literature, I guess.
Like I said, right now, I don't have any directions to let you know what we'll be doing. But all we know is this, that we don't have to go into details with the client. And the client, if they have these kind of issues, they will know it and they will let us know. It's more to pick up the client's brain than for us to explain it to the client what these conditions are. Okay, it's like we said, we're not doing a medical assessment here. We're only asking for information. Okay, look at it as at the face value, just information. The client says, I don't know, I don't want to answer, that's fine.
In fact, when you think of it, the only two things we can verify within a client is their employment record and their education. Everything else is left up to their interpretation or choice to either tell us or not. So again, your question is really good, Slava. We just want to make sure that we don't want to get into a whole bunch of details, but I will find out from WCG how much knowledge we have to impart to them to help explain some of these terms that even I don't have a full understanding of.
Yeah, please do, because you know what? We need to be able to answer the questions properly, not to go too deep, in explaining, because we're not experts. Maybe we'll be explaining in a wrong way.
Yeah.
So do we have to be knowledgeable of all these medical terms and conditions in order to work with the client, or we don't need to because we can refer them to literature? Learn about it if you're not sure.
Well, you could say one word to them: Google.
Google. Oh boy.
Okay. Moving on to the next question. How often are your daily activities limited by this condition? Again, you see the same 6 options. And when you are experiencing this condition, how much difficulty do you have with your daily activity? It's pretty, the pattern is the same. Once you have a condition, they're asking how often it hampers your daily activity and to what extent. And then you see the next questions are about pain due to a condition that has lasted or is expected to last for 6 months or more. Now, do you have pain that is always present? Yes, no. Okay. So we can talk about that. Now, in case, no, now we're talking about, do you have periods of pain that recur from time to time? So if you say yes, it's going to ask you again, how often does this pain limit your activity? Again, you can talk. Now, when you're experiencing this pain, how much difficulty do you have with your daily activities? Again, you can answer whatever you want, and that's when it stops. Okay, you can see the set of, like I said, if you, I mean, I didn't count, but I see in their manual, the 5 questions related to disabilities, actually expands into 31 additional questions for each of these 5 different categories. Okay, and now we're going to the almost the final end of this module 2, talk about employment status. Now, have you been convicted of a crime when you were 19 or older that has not been given record suspension or been pardoned? Okay, let's say yes. It's going to ask you more questions. Has your criminal record made it difficult for you to find a job? You can say yes. Are you currently attending a school? You can say yes. It actually opens up more questions. Now, attending a college or in training or skills development, or are you enrolled as a full-time or a part-time student? You can say whatever, like say part-time. Are you currently working at a job or a business? So if you say yes, it's going to ask you now, again, your employment detail. Like, are you self-employed, employed, or both? How would you best describe the nature of your job? Permanent, seasonal, temporary, or contract, casual, or others? So again, you got to specify what other is, right? Now, how many paid hours do you usually work per week? Just for convenience sake, I'm just putting not sure. Now, what is your hourly wage? You can say prefer not to answer. How many of the following statements apply to your current job? I'm not sure whether my job will continue in the future. I don't get paid enough to pay my basic expenses. I have no benefits or very little benefits like pension and health benefits. And you can say prefer not to answer. Now, how long have you worked at your current job? Okay. Weeks is optional, months is required. So I can say like say 6 months. Now, what other work do you have? Now, this is where the NOC code comes into play. You know, your existing NOC, okay. Which is manager, do you have work experience in Canada? Let's say no. Or if you say yes, you can say whatever you want, depending on your situation. And finally, we're talking about employment goals. This talks about your history. Now this talks about your goals, this next section. Getting a job is more down to luck than the effort you put in. You see the question here? It talks about the client's, mind. Whatever the client thinks is right, he or she can say that, right? So you can say, well, getting a job is more down to luck. Well, let's say, for example, I say strongly agree. Nobody's questioning me. Now, having almost any job is better than being unemployed. Okay, you can choose whatever you want. Strongly agree to strongly disagree. You can say neither agree nor disagree. Now we're talking about workability. Now that's your overall capability as a worker to perform and interact with your work. It includes your physical, psychological, and social capabilities. Now please rate your current workability compared to your lifetime best on a scale from 1 to 5.
Always had a problem with this question.
Yeah, this question is very, very tricky. So it's talking about your current ability compared to your lifetime best. First of all, you should know what your lifetime best is. Okay. So if you're a student, you don't even know, you don't even have a lifetime best because you never worked before. But if you have like 25 years of work experience under your belt, then you should know which period was your peak period. And then you have to compare that period to your current capability. It's a very complex question. So we asked them to remove it even in the first phase, but for some reason they want that here. Okay. Compared to that peak period, you feel you are completely unable to work, or you feel now I am at the peak. Okay. So you can say I'm totally hopeless, or you can say, well, right now I'm the best, or anywhere in between. Okay, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's a whole lot of gray areas that you can fill in. Okay. So if you can say, well, I'm kind of okay for now. I'm not feeling the best. I'm not feeling the worst. You can go with a 4 or a 5. But the thing is, you have to explain this, but it's, there's no difference here. You have to simply explain it and let the client choose from any number between, 1 to 7. And it's funny, it says scale from 1 to 5, but I have here 7. All right. Click 7, it just still goes to 7. Okay, I think we'll have to let them know that. Now, what type of job are you looking for? Again, you have to tell what type of job. I was a purchase manager. I want to go into human resources. You can say that. Okay. And then how many hours per week you want to work or you're able to work, and what is your expected salary? Now you can proceed to the next step. You can save and resume, or you can go back to the previous page. Let's see if I've completed all the questions here. Okay. All right. That's the client.
What did you get?
Oh, I got a.
Did you get a C person or not?
Common assessment. See, it throws in a unique ID. This is the common assessment number. It's still in progress. It's only for referral. Employment case, worker information, service system manager, delivery site. Now, you have to assign the assessment to, whichever delivery site we're choosing. Now, you see, this is the summary of all the information, starting from basic information, mailing address, demographic, okay, skills.
Oh, so that part can
This
be
part,
printed
yes,
out.
this part you can print. Okay, that's
Oh,
what.
good.
Okay, so you got the whole information, all of what we discussed here.
Very good.
Okay, so
Where's the print function here?
you can just print there.
Yeah,
Just
okay.
right click and print. Depending on the browser, you can just print the whole thing you want.
However, if we are working from home, we cannot print, Raj.
You can print as a PDF document and store it, Slava. See, for example, print.
Okay, you taught me that. Okay.
You see, save as PDF. Do not go for any printer, Samsung, blah, blah, blah. No, save as PDF and see the whole thing is coming up. I'll save it here and then I can store it in my document. I'll keep it as a souvenir. Okay. Okay, so it's printed as a PDF now. Okay, now if you go to my document, okay.
You showed me something different. You showed me, how to make a screenshot and save it.
Yeah, you don't have to make a screenshot because screenshots, this is an actual document, so you can print it as a PDF document. Okay, you see it's a PDF. It's like 11-page PDF document with all the.
If you have PDF, Acrobat, Adobe, or whatever on your computer, which we don't have.
We all have. It's a free reader.
Yeah.
It's there. By default, you will have it. Okay, so it'll open up here. Okay, so you got all of it. You see all the questions we got. How much difficulty you have reaching in introduction? A lot of difficulty. It saves all the answers and everything.
Okay.
So that sums up.
Very good. At least there is some information remaining after the session.
It's actually both, just to give you a broad summary of what it is.
Is there more?
No, just a broad summary. The module 1, it talks about the personal information and background, and module 2 talks about income, employment, disabilities. Just the 2 modules. So like
one thing to bring up too, this is really critical, and because this actually will replace the EO participation form. The registration form we currently now use will be replaced by this.
The only difference is that we have to do it, and in the previous model, clients did it.
Yes.
No, and I realize that, and it's going to take a little bit more extra time, but it's in the interest of making sure that we're streaming people into the right category, provided they're being honest with us and we're positioning it appropriately from them. So it's going to be a learning curve.
Okay, so now we have to learn what is the next step after identifying them as A, B, C. What is the next step?
That is the engage phase.
Okay.
They haven't trained us yet on engage phase. We will let you know when they train us.
We're
you
doing
go.
trainers. Once we get trained, we'll train you. That's how it works.
Can I ask
Yes,
something?
Marcela.
We is gonna be only the ECs.
This was the question, like I said, I think Slava asked the same question. It's not, we haven't determined who's going to do it.
Oh, okay, okay.
Mhm.
I didn't get that.
Because from what I see, it's only data collecting, okay? It's not counseling, nothing. It's data collecting.
Mhm.
Yes, it is.
It's assessment. That's basically what it is. Data
Yeah,
collection.
well, assessment is when you kind of, I don't know, collect information and have a summary of what the situation of the client is. Here is just, facts,
Mhm.
data. It's not an assessment, it's data.
Um, it's not accurate, Slava, because it is data and assessment. Because the only thing is, the assessment part is done by the system. It's not done by the person who's collecting the data.
That's correct.
Because when the determination is made to put a client into one of the three categories, that is an assessment. It's based on an assessment, right? So the assessment part is there. It's the good thing is you don't have to do the assessment manually. The computer does the assessment based on the data that we collect, and based on the assessment, the client is categorized into stream A, B, and C.
Makes sense, makes sense.
And again, going back to the whole point, again, we got to make it a conversation, not an interrogation. Otherwise, they'll get stiff and not want to answer it. And if that's the case and they give us garbage, then the old story, garbage in, garbage out. They give us wrong information, we'll come back with a wrong assessment and we won't be able to help them appropriately, which is going to make it more difficult to place them, and we don't want that. So if they can be honest with us, we're going to be honest with them and help them as much as we can. If we can't do an intervention because we're not dealing with medical situations,
Yes, I
we'll certainly
agree.
refer them on to
that
somebody who can.
we're going to collect a lot of information, but the whole process is very dry and surgical, okay? It's not like, we're face to face, warm people asking, warm questions. It's just very surgical and dry data collecting. And I'm afraid that people who will be, not computer savvy, they will be tired of asking, all these surgical and very dry questions.
Mhm.
They will not even go through the whole assessment because they will not see, that there is a human interaction here. It's just data collecting, I'm telling you.
Slava, I can only talk from my experience. It's not, which is not a lot. It's just 2 assessments. Frankly, it was a fun experience for both for me and the client. I did it very participatively. I did not throw these dry questions. Yeah, on the phone, when it's on the phone, well, I had to ask the question as it was. But when it was on Zoom, the client saw the question and he was going like, "Hey, what? It's not even a question." And we had a little laugh, and then he went on and said, "Yeah, you know what? Maybe sometimes, always, whatever." The client was just, I didn't even have to read the question. We were laughing at some of the questions together.
So what kind of clients did you have? A, B? I'm pretty sure you didn't have a C.
No.
There you go.
B. No, it's like I said. If you want to see the darker side of everything, it's fine. Like I said, I had only 2 experiences. I'm not saying all experiences are going to be great. What I'm saying is like, yeah, we will always get the odd one out. It doesn't matter what type of assessment we do. My point here is this, like you said, it doesn't have to be dry. It's how you treat it. It's like customer service. You go to a doctor's office. Some of those people out there,
yeah,
It's not the same.
yeah, it's very different. So you can make it nice and a good experience, or you can make it dry. Like be very robotic, strict, just stick to the fact and go on, ask in a dry tone the questions. So, like I said, it all depends.
I'm just very afraid, that I will be keeping my, telephone receiver on my ear and trying to type. If I experience a C client who doesn't have a computer, it's going to be a bad experience for all of us because I will have to be typing, repeating questions. There will be questions from the client. Why are you asking me these questions? And et cetera, et cetera. It's not like human interaction. This is what I'm trying to say. It's all computerized. There's no human interaction here.
Well, to that point, Slava, can I just say this is one of the reasons, and again, it's not everyone's cup of tea. Not everyone's going to be able to access Zoom. Not everyone's going to have a computer. But if you have Zoom, it's a lot easier, and that's the whole purpose. Like I'm looking at Raj right now, and you know, he seems like a pretty credible, intelligent guy, and he's asking me questions, and I'm going, you know what? I'm in. It's good. Whether I have a camera or not, that's beside the point. But at least I can see him.
Yeah.
The questions.
Exactly, and we will have to show our faces, you know, to the whole world through Zoom, Zoom meeting with a client, I guess.
Well, we do that right now with all our Zoom webinars too, and then we just turn the camera off because it's distracting from the PowerPoint. But it's just to make a face-to-face connection and go, now you know who I am. I'm a living, breathing person named Raj, and hey, I got some questions. We need to go through these questions so that we can help you as best we can. But you know what? We'll come up with some words that help you sort of position it, because it's all about positioning. It's almost like the story, like for instance, if you push people away at the front door and say, if you don't wear this bloody mask, I'm not going to serve you, as opposed to, you know what, in the best interest of your health and your care, making sure that we're both going to go home healthy and happy tonight, we want to make sure that you're safe. So I would really like you to wear this mask. You know, it's all in the positioning.
Okie dokie.
Turn your cameras on before you guys leave.
Yeah. You miss us already?
Yeah.
I have such a mess, I don't want to show you.
Oh.
5 seconds is fine, Renata.
She's into her third pina colada because she's officially on vacation. That's why.
Well,
It's
officially,
okay, it's okay. Everything is okay. Yeah, everything is okay.
but yeah. Okay,
But like, you know, we do, like if you, trust me, now you have a 1,000 questions now, which is very understandable. All it takes is like, you know, maybe half a dozen assessments and, you know, most of the questions will be answered by then, trust me. I'm not saying, you know, we'll have 100% resolution, but we will really feel much more comfortable as and when we do a few.
And the other thing that I think would be helpful too, I mean, Renata or Slava or Marcella or Samantha may have a real, or whoever, one of the facilitators, whoever does this, we don't know. They may have a really neat approach that works every time or most of the time. And they say, you know what, if you do it this way, you get this kind of reaction. So give it a try. And that's how we'll all learn.
Okay, another question that I will have. You see, you know, I have rosy cheeks from the excitement.
I thought that was a reflection from the wall.
Listen, how many of these assessments in the old system, how many clients do we have to see per week?
I don't understand your question, Slava.
Okay, in the old system, to meet our target, we were scheduled to see 5 clients a week. How many assessments do we have to do weekly? Or maybe how many clients will we be assigned to weekly to meet our overall target?
Oh, you mean that? Okay, hold on a second.
I mean that, yes. Should we do 20 assessments and be assigned to 20 clients a week, or just
okay,
or 5?
Okay, instead of 5, you will have about 3.5 now per week.
That's right.
So, or about 7 clients every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's divided by how many?
That answers my question.
14 in a month, Renata, instead of 20.
You sure?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you.
Yeah.
Okay, you, Raj. It's wrong. We have to see 54 people until April.
What?
Oh, you're talking about you're talking about April?
Well, yeah. From January to April, it's 54, right? 54 divided by how many SEs?
Well, we'll have more people.
But all
That's
of
what
us,
I'm asking. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, 54 divided by 4 is 13.5.
By 4.
Divided
No,
by
right now I'm talking, we are planning like to have additional ECs, but I'm just saying the worst case scenario, because you know how our center, I mean, our agency operates. Okay, you think January 4th, all of a sudden another EC is going to just pop up from midair? You know how the process takes its own time. So I'm just considering, even with 4 ECs, we're talking about 13.5. I rounded off to 14 clients a month, which is like 7 for every 2 weeks. So why am I wrong?
yeah, you're wrong.
Why?
what?
54 divided by 4 ECs, that
Yeah.
gives you 13.5 clients for 3 months.
For 3 months?
Yeah. Divided by how many?
Is it 54 for the whole?
Okay, whatever it is, I like that ratio. Don't change it.
54 per month, my dear.
Because of that.
How many?
54 per month, not for 3 months.
Oh, well.
54 per month for the next 3 months instead of 74 per month, which is our usual number.
No, because you said that 164 is for the whole year.
Oh no,
Where's
you're,
that
you see,
number from?
you're talking about the new, when we're talking about from April to March, like
Yeah.
2022. Now that is what I'm talking about, 167 for the whole year. Okay.
Confused.
Which
So
for
that's
us in
what we
Mississauga is
need.
great because it's down to
14
180.
14 clients per month.
Yeah,
13 clients per month.
that's what it is. Mhm.
Okay.
Okie dokie.
Well, it's better than 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are, you know how hard we had to fight to get that?
Thank you.
You don't want to know.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
You should have
It's
followed
better.
more,
Thank you.
Raj.
Oh boy.
So,
Okay.
you know what we have to see? We have to see what is involved in each ABC interventions. That's all what we need to know. Then we will. Then I will tell you if it's doable or not.
Exactly. We don't have enough information to know
No, we
whether or not
don't.
we
Yeah.
can or cannot do it. They believe we can. We think we can. Let's do it. Let's try it, and we'll find the ways to make it happen.
Yeah.
We only
Do we
have
have
the,
another meeting tomorrow? Do we have another meeting tomorrow for some training?
yeah, the whole week. I think David sent you a table, but there's a whole lot of meetings, but for the whole week. But it's
Okay.
it's voluntary. It's not entirely mandatory because all these meetings will be recorded. So those of you who have other plans, you can just go ahead.
And just to that point, Raj and I are meeting next, and then the very next meeting right after this is with Wanda, because I think I may have had some of those links and times wrong, so I may have to revise that email to you.
Okay.
Okay.
And David, once I have you, in that meeting, can you please check my email about my vacation days?
I will. I will.
Please, because you know what? I'm the only one who is not approved for December vacation.
Oh, that should be, I'll go through the web apps and take a look. Yeah.
Okay,
I
please.
see your lips moving, but I can't hear you.
Baba,
Okay, yes.
I approved my vacation and I'm still working. Are you sure you want to do that?
That's right. That's
You're
right.
a dedicated person, We're all dedicated.
The second career, I didn't want to give it to any of you guys because you will have headache with the clients I have. So it's better that I finish that. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
I think I have to register a client still, okay?
Okay.
I'm working overtime today,
Oh my
Thank you.
God.
Thank you,
but
ladies,
that's okay.
for coming in. Okay, short